Have you ever played a game that made you question everything you just experienced? A story so fragmented and chaotic that it feels like you're losing your mind right alongside the protagonist? That's Outlast 2, and it's meant to be that way. Outlast 2 is a linear survival horror game released in 2017 by a small game studio named Red Barrels. It was incredibly hyped up during the marketing campaign, as its predecessor Outlast had blown away the horror gaming community with its unique twist on survival horror and compelling setting. Upon release, however, the game, while not downright hated, was met with criticism due to being a bit too convoluted at times, not having the most easy to understand story, and not really wrapping up a whole lot of things when the game ended. Now, there are tons of videos on YouTube about the full story of Outlast 2, so I'm not going to spend this entire video going over the story, but to put it in basic terms, you and your wife are investigative journalists who find themselves stuck in a town cut off from the rest of civilization deep in the remote Arizona desert. You guys get split up, and you are trying to find your wife while all the madness is going on around you. That is the story in a nutshell. But by the end of the game, you get zero answers as to why everything was going on and what's happening, and basically nothing gets wrapped up. But what if I told you that that is actually the point of the story, to be intentionally misleading? Now, you might rebuke that with, that's lazy and an excuse to get away with a bad story, and honestly, that's kind of fair. But I'm here to offer a new perspective. Now, I've played this game a lot. Let's go! Oh my god, oh my fucking. So I think I might know what Red Barrels was going for here. Have you ever heard of an unreliable narrator? Essentially, it's a character whose perspective is distorted, biased, or untrustworthy, making it difficult for the audience to discern the true nature of events. Enter Blake Langerman, our protagonist, who isn't just a character we control, he is our perspective. The game doesn't present us with a clear, omniscient view of the world. Instead, we experience everything through Blake's deteriorating mental state, his fears, his trauma, and most importantly, his confusion. This is what makes Blake an unreliable narrator. His mental state throughout the game goes completely downhill, and we are exposed to more confusing and illusory moments, such as the school scenes, the blood rain, and the birth of his child. All of these events, and many more like them, are simply figments of his imagination. This is common knowledge for the most part, but the disconnect and confusion for many players comes in when we get to the end of the game, we beat it all, and we don't get any answers as to why literally anything happened. There is a note that you can find scattered somewhere in the third chapter of the game, but good luck finding this as a new player without a YouTube guide. And the whole thing about that is that this note is really your only true lore dump / answers as to why things are going on. Unlike many horror games that offer neatly wrapped up conclusions or last minute lore dumps, Outlast 2 never truly gives us that moment of clarity, and that's because it's not our story to understand, it's Blake's to live through. Ask yourself, were you annoyed when the game ended and you didn't get any wrap-up or true answers? I sure was when the game first came out. But you see, if this is how you reacted, then the game achieved exactly what it was going for. As stated before, we aren't just controlling Blake, we are Blake. So after reiterating that, ask yourself another question. Would it make sense for Blake to get his grandiose Deus Ex Machina reveal at the end? No, it wouldn't. You can disagree, and that's okay, but if we're going off the fact that we are Blake, then why should we, the audience, get a reveal? We are meant to experience Blake's story, not the story of Murkoff, Templegate, the Scald, and all of the other parts of the game. Those things are simply contributors to the backdrop of his living nightmare. Why is that, though? Well, it's because Blake is not concerned with the intricacies and the truths of the world around him. He is concerned with one thing and one thing only, finding his wife. So there you have it. That is why Outlast 2 doesn't explain anything and why it really isn't supposed to. I know this video was short, but I hope you guys enjoyed the essay style, and if you'd like more of these videos in the future, for any game that is, then leave a comment down below. Thank you for watching, and consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed. It really helps the channel grow, and it means a lot to me. Thanks, guys!